YB stays on your neck.
It's on my neck.
I'm gonna give it to someone.
John. Big boss. This is Ojo Legba.
Yes, this is really bad.
Yo my dons, make sure you hit that like button, comment, subscribe, and obviously hit the bell for notifications. So we just seen there from Anthony Alla Cash Cow Joshua in what seems to be Lagos, Nigeria, I believe. Now it's pretty interesting this stuff's come along because I wanted to touch on a subject around this, and the last few days we've had quite a few videos. Well, I've got a video coming out where Mike Tyson asked Anthony Joshua a few questions about what does he believe in, what's he about. Now, I've not criticised, but I've been also questioning, saying, what is AJ doing this for? There's nothing against potentially. When you get a certain amount of money, I wouldn't know about this, but once you become rich, it seems everyone seems to fall into more or less the same pot, or a lot of people do. They lose that edge, they lose that real rawness about them. So, like Mike Tyson said, and like I've said before, I'm just intrigued to see what it's really about. And you can only really be tested when you're on top and you're winning. The only time you can really test, not these concepts, but these kind of, the only time you find out what someone's really about is when they lose. You don't, even if people say, oh well, he came through adversity in the Klitschko fight, yeah, but you still ultimately won. Coming back from a loss, that's when you see what someone's really about. And it's cliche to say, but it remains the same. Anyway, let's get to the topic of this video. So AJ is in Nigeria, and you'll see what I mean when I try and talk about the spiritual side. What's he doing it for? Because I'm not that level of fame, or any level of fame, or any level of riches, but sometimes it's really humbling when you go to some of these places where, or any place in the world that's not the West, and even the West. Obviously there's poverty in the West, but it's a different type of poverty. And not that it's really hard to do this video because I don't want people to think, oh, I'm from Africa, not everyone's poor. No, not everyone is poor, but in general, if you look at the averages, on average, the living standards are lower. That's a fact. Economically, it's a fact. And what I'm saying is, it's truly humbling. In life, you can often get narrowed down. I've had it myself where you feel sorry for yourself and you're in this real narrowness. And when you travel, when you see other places, you see people with a lot less than what we have in the West, but they're a lot happier. They're a lot or they can, like, as an example, we can drive past rich parts in London or wherever, and then people wouldn't open their door to you for nothing, even though they've got a lot. They've got a lot essentially to share. However, with the little travelling I've done in some of the poorer places or poorest places, people will share their last, or they'll share stuff they haven't really got to share. Does that make sense? They'll offer you stuff to eat, or they'll share their food with you. But then you got these big people in London and New York who they'd turn their nose up at you in that sense. So that humbleness, it's really quite empowering in terms of your mental state. Being able to feel that love and the humbleness. It's difficult, it's hard to, I know what I want to say, but it's difficult to communicate. Hopefully you can see what I mean. And AJ going out there, you'll get that real soul, that feeling of, that feeling of, that realness. There's a lot of fake ass people in the West, and there's fake ass people in Africa and whatnot as well. But there's a whole lot. When you look at around here, a whole lot of fake people. You've got broke people and people who aren't even famous who are fake. They're just too gassed off themselves. You've got these yuppie chicks who are like and the man. It's not just women, but you've got these yuppie people with a few thousand followers, and they think they're too nice, too gassed. And that's why it's good to get an. I'm not sure why. Of course, he's from Nigeria, so he probably goes there quite often anyway. But this is a good time. Get back to the roots. Get some soul in you. Get around some real people, and just start feeling that that love. And when you think about great leaders, they often talk about the people. And I'm trying to think of a good example, but that there's power from people. And in my little experience, I've got a small YouTube channel, but even there, you've got a few people who support you and whatnot. It gives you a strength. You've got a few real people that through thick or thin, they're there. And that there, in my opinion, it can give you a level of strength. And we see here AJ's really, really embracing that. The post he put on the video, so you see him here being mobbed by the masses. And it says, a stroll through Makoko with the local community. Big man ting. They tell us don't go to the ghettos, but I go where I feel most comfortable. Our people, them. And that's what's true. That's what I'm talking about. The real people. And when people say, what are you doing this for? In life, or in general. Yeah, so let me talk about myself, 'cause that's all I can do at the end of the day. I don't know who Joshua is. I've never met him. I've never met AJ. I don't know him from Adam. But let me talk about me, and that may or may not apply to him. Me, myself, I think it's easier. I'm not a parent, but I'm sure parents can empathise with this. When you're a parent, you may or may not care about yourself, but you're more, well, good parents at least. They almost live for their children. Does that make sense? You can't really stand going to work. You don't really want to do these things, but you do them for someone else, and that's what I'm saying. Go into this place where AJ will be truly, he'll be seen as a hero, and especially when you got people with not a lot, or any people, but particularly people that haven't got a lot. They really do hold on to. It's almost like, well, not. It's like anyone, essentially. Anyone. They have people who like football. They have football heroes, which they essentially live their life through them. There'll be a lot of people in Nigeria and worldwide who won't have a lot, but they'll be living. That they'll see AJ as a. I'm trying to think of the word. They'll see him as a beacon of hope and power. And as a Nigerian representative, they'll see him as an extension of themselves, and not just poor people, not just Nigerians, but obviously that's his home base, so they're gonna feel it the most. Just like British people, like David Beckham, that's the way it works. People gravitate to stars who are from where they're from, essentially. But the reason I say that is, just like parents can live for their children and do so for their children, AJ, when he feels that love and that force, it's a true force. As I said, me myself, I haven't got a massive platform, but the little piece of love I feel is strong. It gives you power to go on. And sometimes, because AJ's rich and famous and whatnot, his internal hunger may have faded. That's a fact of the matter. He may not be as hungry as he was before all the money and whatnot came. However, that when he speaks, when he sees these communities here, that may really empower him. Does that make sense? That may really make him feel, you know what, this rawness. I see all these people who have taken time out of their day to come and see me, and that's worth more than money in that sense. It's a true power. It's a life force. It's people giving you their energy. As I said, I'm not some spiritual person, but I do think that has some level of value. And also, particularly in this next fight, you're going to really need that soul. You're going to need that ruthlessness, that true hunger. Take the hunger of the people. Take the. It's hard. It's a really hard topic to talk about, but I hope you can understand what I'm trying to say, what I'm trying to get at. Listen, you're with the real people. Take that real energy, because there'll be a whole lot of people with real energy. Take that and go and bust up Andy Ruiz. That's all I can say. That's what it comes down to. Take whatever it is that's there. That's probably what I should have said. I can't explain it. Maybe you can understand what I'm trying to say. Take whatever it is that's there. Take that force and that power and go and Brock Dung, Andy Ruiz, and his little cocky self. Because let's get it straight. Andy Ruiz comes out, he started talking it big and giving it the big one, and that's why you don't show people respect. In my opinion, you don't show them respect until you know what you're dealing with. Because there's a lot of snakes out here. You must be my mummy, and you have to pay me $50 million. It's a shame he wasn't talking about $50 million when the first fight was on. He wasn't. He was grateful with both of his hands open. And that's why you got to be truly ruthless. I don't want to see, me personally, I don't want to see in my opinion, the way Andy Ruiz is not treated AJ, but the way it's been weird. It's been off key. He's been fake. He was a fake dude in the first fight. Facts. Because now, as an example, like I explained a few days ago, AJ posts a video of him training, and Andy Ruiz out of nowhere just comes out and starts talking about robot. What's that about? It's a bit weird. And people can say, oh, it's the fight game, and I agree it's the fight game, but don't be fake. Call a spade a spade. Be real about it. If you want to be all smoky, be all smoky. And I hope AJ, I don't want to see no handshaking. I don't want to see, me personally, I don't want to see none of that crap. And you lot can sit there and say, oh, he's humble. Well, it's just a bit muggy at this point. Yeah? It's just a bit muggy, and I feel all your supporters, the people from Nigeria and everywhere else, we don't want to see that either. We don't want to see Andy Ruiz treating you as like a bit of a mug, and then you go there and you want to shake hands and grin teeth. That mugs us off as well. And then maybe you can argue, well, if he's not that bothered, neither should we be. Well, maybe that's the case as well. But I feel this next one, you need to take out all of the injustices that you do or don't see need to be taken out on that night. And that's why I've heard from a lot of people who have been saying that. A lot of people, not me personally, I'm sure a lot of you trolls won't believe me when I say AJ's loss didn't really bother me. On a serious note, you might think I'm just saying that, but honestly, in terms of did I lose sleep or did it really hurt me? No, not really, because I'm really not that kind of person. Unless it makes a real difference to me, I'm not bothered. I don't have idols or stuff like that. I don't really look up to people because I don't know from Adam. Does that make sense? It don't really bother me. It don't really affect my life. However, other people, I've heard they've been saying, oh, I've been thinking about this all day and whatnot. And that's why AJ needs to be ruthless for them people. Them people who all them people in Nigeria and across the world who will be living through him. He needs to do it for them. He owes this last one. Now, don't get me wrong. If after this Andy Ruiz loss, he'd lost the fight and said, you know what, guys, I'm not feeling it. I'm going to retire. Fine. If he wants to pull the Prince Nassim, no problem. But since he wants to do this, he needs to do it for them. Now, if he beats Andy Ruiz and then decides, you know what, guys, I've redeemed myself, I'm going away, that's also fine. But if you're going to do it, it needs to be done. It needs to be done on 1,000,000,000%. And that said, of course, he's going to do that. I believe. But there ain't no room for nothing else in between this time now. There ain't not a bit of room. There's no room. There's no excuses. There's no nothing going into this next one. It needs to be pure big man ting. A ghetto performance. That's what it needs to be. Yeah? They tell us don't go to the ghettos, but I go where I feel most comfortable. Our people them. This performance needs to be for the people them. It needs to be selfless. That's the word, selfless. It needs to be a selfless performance. Where you go in there, you're not thinking about, because AJ's talked before, and I'm not sure if I got around to doing a video on it, but AJ said, after the Klitschko fight, he said to Rob McCracken, oh yeah, that fight was too tough, I don't really want to get hit like that again, and I want to become a boxer, and all this sort of business. I'm pretty sure I covered it, I think, during a live stream, but I'm going to do a video on it in its own right. But anyway, there's an article out there where he says, basically, the Klitschko fight was a bit rough, and I shouldn't really be having fights like that, and I want to become more of a boxer. That's all well and good, and as I said, if that's the case, don't do the rematch, because Andy Ruiz, to be fair to Ruiz, has he got loads of power? Not in my opinion, but nonetheless, he comes to fight, and he's going to do it. And you see a lot of people, and that's why I rate Mexicans in particular, because you'll hear the Mexicans, they'll say, I'm doing this, they always relate it back to the Mexican people. They always say, my Mexican chin, I'm doing it for the Mexican people. Black fighters, they don't really do that. They don't say, AJ's never come out and said, yeah, I'm doing this for the Nigerian people. And I think there needs to be a bit more of that, in my opinion. I'm not even Nigerian, but I still think there's a real power in that. Look at McGregor. Now, as I say, McGregor has turned into McTapper. But when McGregor was the real deal, he'd talk about what was the phrase he? What was the phrase he said? He said, when one of us goes to war, we all go to war. In an Irish accent, obviously it's Irish, and there's a real force in that. There's a real power in it. There's a real, there's a force and a power. It can make you real ruthless. You got to be selfless, and you got to use all that life force you got out there. You got to use it and put it into the fight. And as I was saying, on that line of selflessness, when you sit there talking about, oh, I don't want to get hurt in the Klitschko, I don't want to be hurt like the Klitschko fight again. This fight's more than that. This fight, and like I said, if it's the case you don't want to be hurt like the Klitschko fight, who am I? I've never boxed before. Don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting there telling you, oh, Josh or AJ, you must go in there and you must fight for the people and you must give it your all. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. But don't go in there and then halfway through the fight, when it gets a bit sticky, start saying, oh, well, I don't really want to be hurt like the Klitschko fight. Because don't bother. Because we can't, we and them more so than me, but say me as well, whatever. We can't deal with another one of them. I'd rather you not bother. Does that make sense? I want to see a selfless performance for the people in the ghettos, or nothing at all. I don't want none of this. Oh well, I don't want to have a hard. Because you don't have to have a hard fight again, but don't be in the middle, because the middle's embarrassing for all of us. Because we all sit here hyping it up. Not that you asked for that, but that's what we believe. There's no point us believing in it more than you do. You might as well not bother. And I get the money's a big law, but all I'm saying is be prepared for the criticism. If you go in there and it's not a selfless performance, and you just went through the motions and whatnot, and you're gonna get the smoke at the end of the day, or at least you're gonna get the smoke from the YB. Because I think them people who see you as a beacon deserve more for this next one. That last one, in my opinion, that wasn't all of your life force in there. I don't care what no one says. AJ didn't leave every single ounce in that ring that night. I don't believe. I'm sorry, he didn't. That wasn't every single ounce. And you got to do it for your children and everyone else. Or don't. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying you must do it. Oh, YB, you haven't done it. You're right, I haven't done it. But if I was going to do it, I'd like to think it'd be all or nothing. I wouldn't be saying about, oh yeah, well, I don't want to be hurt like the Klitschko fight again. It's got to be selfless, this next one. It's got to be a ghetto performance. Let me know what you guys think anyway.